Hey, Scott, do you hear me? You got me, Scott? You got me, Scott? Scott, can you hear me? Scott, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Sweet, I got you. Let's go.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome on in. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. I am not Sean O'Connell. I am Scott Mitchell. I'm filling in for Sean today. He is off on assignment, but we're still excited about the show, and we got a great one today. And you do not want to miss a part of it. So buckle up and let's go. But before, just by way of information, if you happen to miss a part of this show, don't worry about it. Use technology. Technology is your friend. Go to the ESPN 700 app. You can go to ESPN700sports.com. You can go to your smart speaker. We're on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. Any one of those you can go to and listen to the show, and you won't miss a part of it. It's kind of a cool thing. We like it, and we hope you like it as well. Yeah, we got Coach Gordy Chiesa. Of course, we've got your Mammoth. We've got the NFL. In fact, we even have NFL games tonight on ESPN 700. So you got some exciting things to look forward to, and some big games coming up this weekend in college football. Of course, big games coming up in the NFL as well. But some really cool stuff is happening here in the state of Utah. And we're right in the thick of it here. Of course, the University of Utah is, the team down south is, and it's quite exciting. It's something that I've talked a lot about recently, and even in the past. I mean, 2 years ago when both of these teams, well, I guess it was a year It's the second season for Utah in the Big 12, but it's a year time wise. Anyways, I don't want to confuse the fact. All I want to say is this is so awesome what is happening here in the state of Utah in general in sports, but right here specifically with this college football world where these teams are vying for an opportunity to go to the college football playoffs. And there's many paths and many scenarios, and the college football rankings, of course, just came out, and they were a stunner. And they were stunner in probably one of the biggest ways, I think, for the Big 12. I mean, having three teams right in the mix of things really close is really exciting. This month of November, it's about how you win championships. And really, all these teams are lined up very nicely. But what I want to do in this opening segment, I want to talk a little bit about Utah's path to the college football playoffs. And I do we have a poll up yet, James, or could we put a poll up about this?
Yeah, I am just about to post the poll. Yeah,
Okay,
it's an interesting path, and you're going to get into it, but it's interesting to see, like, would you rather get that large, or would you rather try for the automatic bid?
So that's the poll question today. So is it a better path for Utah to try to get an at-large bid? Now they're 13 and they take 12 teams, and they're right. And this is the first poll, so we know it's going to change. We know teams are going to lose and win, and there's going to be some stinkers and some surprises and some really good things here. But for Utah, is it a better path to get an at-large or to actually go and try to get into? I mean, they can't try; they kind of have to need help to get into the conference championship. Which one do you think is a better path? Which one is a more probable path? At-large or through the conference championship? All right, so we're going to talk about that in some detail. And really, I think the biggest shock to me of all of the college football playoff rankings was that Utah was 13. And simply because I don't think a lot of people have been watching Utah, and it feels like this team is gelling at the right time. When you bring in a lot of new faces, which Utah did and has done for probably the first time ever, and it's a new thing, and you have new coaches. Jason Beck is new to Utah and new to Power 4 football. The stakes are higher than maybe they were at New Mexico, and so there was some growing, and Devin Dampier getting used to and playing Power 4 opponents every single week, and there were some injuries, and there were some some things figuring out how to play against good opponents in big games and finishing those games. But it feels like Utah's kind of rounded that corner, because Cincinnati, I believe, is a good football team, and of course Utah handled business very well, and you can just see that things are going in the right direction. And so a lot of people weren't seeing that. The UCLA game, which was massively impressive at the beginning of the year, a lot of people didn't see it, and a lot of people have but the people who have seen it, the College Football Selection Committee, the polls, the computers, all the people that do the power rank, all that stuff, they've recognized that, and they like Utah. I mean, look, game day doesn't show up at Utah if they don't like Utah, and they don't. And so people get a sense, and a spidey sense, that this Utah team is pretty good. And quite frankly, they're getting a sense of the Big 12 as being a good conference. I mean, you could argue that the SEC is like, it's a hot mess, people. Okay, Texas A&M is your number one team in the Big 12 in the SEC. Now Texas A&M has more money than God, and they can buy out coaches like it's a Tuesday, and then they can go out and they can recruit the heck, and they can pay the heck out of players. Okay, they've always been the little brother. They've always been that weird relative that just can't quite seem to fit into the party. They've always been very overrated, and now they're winning. And Alabama and Georgia are chasing. The ACC is an absolute abysmal disaster. They will get a team in the playoffs just because they have to, and it will probably be a team like it could be Virginia. So, but the Big 12 all of a sudden says, you know, we like BYU, we like Texas Tech, and we like Utah. And it may be better off for the conference if Utah isn't in the conference championship, because it looks like there's a real possibility of Utah actually getting into that conference or getting into the playoffs. I was dumbfounded. I was just elated by this number 13 ranking right off the get-go, because there's a couple of teams ahead of Utah. There's four teams ahead of Utah and just barely ahead of them with 2 losses. And that's kind of how they're clumped. It's like, here's your 2 loss teams that, you know, because 2 losses will get you into the college football playoffs. And they will, because there's only, I think there's 4 teams. There's Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Indiana. Indiana and Ohio State play each other. Texas still has to play somebody in a conference. There's a possibility that there could be no teams. There's a possibility at the end of all this, you know, BYU could actually be the top team in the only undefeated team in the country at one point. So losses and 2 losses to the right teams at the right time can get you into the college football playoffs. And I think Utah has kind of demonstrated that. But here's the teams. You've got Notre Dame, massively overrated, but they're going to be there unless they lose. And there might be a possibility they lose another game. Maybe not. Their schedule's not that tough. Texas still has a tough game. Oklahoma still has a tough game, and Utah. Okay. So there's 3 teams right there that kind of, Ole Miss has 1 loss. Ole Miss it could fall, because what you're really hoping for if you're Utah, like all I thought about originally, my hope for Utah was, how can we get to the conference championship game? It's the only path we have to getting to the college football playoffs. Is there still a chance? Because you know there's a chance, because the Big 12 is just always crazy. And there's scenarios, and you know, and there's scenarios where if BYU wins out, actually if BYU loses out and Cincinnati loses a game, and you know, it's there's scenarios. There's scenarios if Utah wins out, BYU wins, Utah wins out, BYU loses. There's multiple scenarios because of tiebreakers, multiple teams with the same record.
It gets pretty crazy, doesn't it, Scott? When you get 3 or more teams tied for the last Big 12 championship berth, anything could happen. They take into account like common opponents in conference. They take into account your total win percentage, that kind of stuff. So who knows? There's websites where you can put in different scenarios and you can figure out, okay, in this scenario, who wins out in the 3-way tie. So much easier if you just get a little bit of help and move up from 13 to like 10, though, right? Yeah. And get that at large.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could go from 13 to 10 without playing this week. You know, and you could. I don't really see Utah falling back at this point. I don't know. I mean, there's Miami, there's Georgia Tech, there's maybe USC is kind of lurking back there, but they're on the back end of, you know,
Iowa's
like
got a couple of opportunities if they can win, but I'm not sure Iowa beats those teams. Right,
and so there's teams lurking, but it's not. It feels like the teams ahead of you are again. They have to play each other. They have to play. I mean, Texas Tech and BYU play. What happens in that game? You know, because the scenario could be that Texas Tech gets its second loss, and then BYU maybe only has 1 loss. Let's say they lose to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati beats them, and they have 1 loss, and they both play each other in the conference championship. The conference championship route, which I thought was the only route, and it is messy, and it is a lot of what ifs, and you have to pray for a lot of help there. In my mind, it seemed like, you know what, maybe it's a little bit easier if you just, went in as an at-large. And wouldn't that just be a beautiful thing? Now, I've talked about a lot of scenarios that, boy, they excite the heck out of me, where Utah gets in and you end up playing BYU later on, and I don't know exactly where it would be, but you don't want to certainly play at BYU again, although that would be fun, because I really think if Utah played any of the teams that potentially are there, namely Texas Tech and BYU, I believe they beat them this time. I really do. And I think Utah is they're poised to be in a really good spot to make a really good run late in the year. And so much of it has to do with when their buys showed up, has to do with the health of the team. It has to do with the confidence of the team and the makeup of the team right now. And it just feels like Utah is this, they're kind of primed for making a nice run here. But here's where I now I'm looking at this very differently, because I'm looking at, well, and maybe I'm being selfish here. I'm looking at, like, well, you just want to get in, right? Just get to 12. Now, if you get to 12, you have the worst seed. And I think you'd play a team like Georgia, possibly Alabama on the road, maybe an Oregon on the road. But if you got up to where you're a first round and you have the higher seeding, that you could have a home game. And that's the hopeful part of this, because there's the potential that if you could have to go to Ole Miss, and none of these places do I go, oh, that would stink, right? I think there's a lot of teams in the college football playoffs that Utah probably could play with, and you don't have to beat them like every day. You just have to beat them one day, and you get hot at the right time and you're healthy. Anything's possible. So
I think, Scott, you have to get to the number 8 as the lowest home team, right? So that's,
and eight's not out of the possibility.
No,
at all.
mean, you mentioned a lot of the teams ahead of Utah play each other. Texas plays Georgia. Mm-hmm. That could end up being that could be a college football playoff elimination game for Texas, and then if Texas wins, it could set up for the Georgia Tech rivalry game a couple weeks later to be a elimination game for Georgia. So anyway, that scenario by itself is one that it's like, hey, it's not that far off from one of these teams that looks like a guaranteed playoff team. Texas is not that, but Georgia certainly is right now, from falling out, getting getting 2 or 3 losses and falling out of the picture.
And then you take like Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss has just had the fortune of having a brutally easy schedule. Like, their schedule, it's almost laughable. Most of these SEC schools' schedules are laughable. All of them at this time of year. It's like a thing. I guarantee you, they have their conference meetings and they go, okay, let's talk about schedule strategy. I guarantee you, it's a topic that comes up, and they say, you need to schedule really easy games at the beginning of the season. You're only going to play probably one of the big schools during the year, like either Georgia or Alabama, depending on what side of the conference you're on. And you're going to have a cupcake somewhere in November, and you're going to beat them by 60 some points.
Yeah, that's especially the case in the SEC, because they have one less conference game, so they put
exactly.
That's why you see Alabama play the Citadel in November, second week in November every year, right?
And and so my point is Ole Miss. I think they might play Texas A&M. I think they have one tough game down the road here, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll pull up their schedule, Scott, just to be sure.
Yeah. And I believe, so it's possible that Ole Miss could have 2 losses before it's all over. And so they're at 6, right?
Yeah, they have the Citadel, and then they have Florida. So they get the Citadel gets the dubious honor of playing Ole Miss this year. So then they have Florida and Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State right now has a winning record, and they've been better than expected this year, but that Egg Bowl game is going to go in Ole Miss's favor, probably.
And Florida, they've just had games like, Florida,
just
who
fired
knows where
their
Florida
coach,
is.
right? Like, they're not winning that game, Florida.
No. But there is, I believe, a much higher probability of getting into the college football playoffs via an at-large bid. And I don't think it's asking too much. I don't think I'm being too selfish here to put it where you have a home game. Because you have a home game. Imagine a home playoff game at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Now, what would be really fun is if that home game was against the team down south. That would be incredible.
Or even what you mentioned before, like, I know you said you don't want to face you obviously would rather have the home playoff game in the first round, but if you matched up with BYU somehow, and BYU goes undefeated or only has one loss, wins the Big 12 championship, they get a pretty high seed, and Utah just barely gets in as an at-large, that could be a first-round playoff matchup. I wouldn't mind playing that at Lavelle Edwards again. I would like Utah's chances in that game, even though that's obviously going to be a crazy atmosphere and a lot of pressure. Like, you get a do-over from earlier in the year that you barely lost. I feel decent about that.
So I've mentioned this show on my show, which is the Down and Dirty, which comes on right before Sean's show. You should listen to it from time to time. It's fun. I brought this idea up about rivalries and the where football is, or where sports are in the state of Utah, and how big and significant things could potentially become. And they've actually done that. Like, we're sitting here, we're hoping for our Mammoth to make it to the playoffs and win a Stanley Cup, and we're hoping for our Utah Jazz to figure it out and turn around and do all that stuff. We're going to talk to Gordy Chiesa about the Jazz here in just a few minutes. But really, I think we're overlooking. We have our two top universities who are on the cusp of both making the college football playoffs. Like, who would have ever thought that? And who would have ever thought that now? This is the second year both of these teams have been in the Big 12. And we thought it might be sooner for the Jazz to win a championship than for BYU and Utah to get into the college football playoffs. And it's about as real as rain right now. I mean, I really believe it's within both of the schools' capabilities and their own hands to get into the playoffs. I believe if Utah wins out and BYU wins out, they're both they'll both be in the college football playoffs. And I really am a firm believer now, which I'm surprised by this, that it's a better path to not get in the conference championship game if you're Utah. And for more than just, well, you might lose, because I don't think Utah would lose in the conference championship, but it's an extra game. It's an extra toll on your body that you don't have to go through. I mean, you could go pretty darn far in the college football playoffs if you're Utah. You could at least get 2 games out of it.
Well, Scott,
and how cool would that be?
If you think about the way things turned out last season, think about the last 4, the final 4. You had Ohio State, Notre Dame. That was the championship game matchup, obviously, and you had Penn State. And man, I'm blanking on who did Ohio State play to get it. Oh, Texas. So the 2 teams that went to the championship game out of that Final 4 were the teams that didn't play in their conference championship game. Penn State played and lost. Texas played and lost, right? Now, that might just be coincidence, because both those teams still were within 1 game of the championship game. But, I mean, before, like, OC was all over this last year leading up to this inaugural 12-team playoff, he's like, the teams that win the conference championship are going to have and get that first round bye are going to have such an advantage because of that rest, and that they get less attrition even though having played one extra game. That ended up being almost the opposite of how it panned out. The teams that played earlier in the playoffs, although not in the conference championship game, seemed to do much better in the first 12-team playoffs. So it kind of speaks to what you're talking about here, is like that one less game in the regular, quote-unquote, regular season, that conference championship game, it probably does benefit the team, especially because that's another playoff game, Scott. So these other teams that play and win their conference or play and lose in the conference championship game, they have to play a fifth playoff game. These other teams only have to play 4 or 3 or 4. So that's seems like a much better situation.
Yeah, it really does. And I don't know that we would have ever thought that. Let me just throw one more scenario out to you that could be mind-blowing. So BYU's kind of had their run of things. They play Texas Tech this weekend. It is the game in college football. Game day is going to be there, of course. Texas Tech is a 10.5-point favorite. LJ Martin is going to be back in this game. This is a huge game for both of these teams. Well, let me throw this scenario out. Let's say Texas Tech wins this game. So now Texas Tech clearly is the leader in the clubhouse. They're going to make it into the conference championship. They're in. Okay. Now BYU is 7.
Really they're play anyone to end the year. I think it's UCF and West Virginia. So they're in. Yeah,
they're in. So then BYU plays at Cincinnati, and they lose. So now it's more than likely going to be Texas Tech and Cincinnati in the conference championship. So does now all of a sudden Cincinnati move back into things? And where does BYU go at 2 losses? And now Utah has 2 losses.
You can think about the head-to-head. BYU beat Utah. That might be a bad situation for Utah's at-large bid.
Or you could say BYU kind of really was a team that was falling off at the end of the year. They had, they just had tough losses to teams, because you could argue, say, well, see, they lost to Cincinnati, but Utah beat Cincinnati. And so now you're in that 3-way, head-to-head matches it, but it's not for the conference. Now it's like, now you're bringing another team into it, Cincinnati. And is there any possible way that you have 4 teams from the Big 12, or do the 2 lost teams, BYU and Utah, one gets in and one doesn't? And who is it? Because it's not a tiebreaker thing. And maybe it is in college football playoffs. Maybe it's just who do they think are the better teams?
No official tiebreakers, Scott. You're on to it. You're on it. Like, it's subjective. Like you would think the majority of the committee, enough, if not all of them, would value the head-to-head of BYU beating Utah. But that we've seen crazier things happen where it's like, but look at how well Utah's how they've blown out everybody other than that game, and BYU's all their wins are really close. So, hey, Utah's more dominant. Let's put them in. That really could happen. I'm against that.
Could you imagine
thinking,
on a year where
that could happen.
Imagine on a year where Utah or BYU beats Utah, and then Utah gets into the college football playoffs with the same record.
Yeah, there's
just some great stories.
Yeah.
That could happen, and I don't want that to happen. Quite frankly, I want all these teams to get in. I'm a big proponent of, it's a big tent, and let's let everybody possibly in. It only makes us all better if that's the case. So
when there's a proposal we're going to talk about later that goes into that idea where not everybody in college football gets in, but a lot more do, right? So
yeah. Hey, if 12 is good, 24 is better. So we'll definitely talk about that down the road. All right, let's take a break. But I'm just telling you, this is going to get zany the last month of the season of college football, and it starts this weekend. This is where it kicks off. We'll know a lot about a lot of things after BYU plays Texas Tech. Hey, tonight, of course, the Broncos are playing the Raiders. Denver's a real team, and the Raiders are not, right here on ESPN 792.1 FM. But I just want to let you know the Sean O'Connell Show is now brought to you proudly by Big Willie Sports Bar in Salt Lake. From craft foods to craft cocktails, they are the sports bar. Check them out today, 1717 South in Main Street. Gordy Chiesa is up next. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Hey, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. The Four Horsemen are back to unite with a new generation of illusionists. Now you see me, now you don't. Is coming to theaters, and ESPN 700 has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to an advanced screening on November 10th at Megaplex Valley Fair. Tune in during topical trivia around 1:45 for your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets. Oh, my favorite part of the day is happening right now. None other than Coach Gordy Chiesa is joining us on the program. Gordy, welcome on in. How you doing today?
Scott, I'm doing well. We haven't talked in a long time. I'm looking forward to with you and I right now chopping it up.
All right, let's chop it up. Well, of course, I think the biggest news right now is Walker Kessler is out for the season with a labrum tear, shoulder injury that will require surgery. What kind of impact does this have on the Jazz this season? You know, his contract, the development of him as a player. What is the all around impact of this injury?
Huge for the Jazz, and also for himself personally, where he's played well. The first 5 games of the season, it's really been an upward tick. He was averaging 14.4 points per game, 10.8 rebounds, 1.8 blocks, 1.4 steals, 3.0 assists, and that's really good. So he's really improved tremendously. Now the contract is economically, the Jazz didn't offer him an extension of the contract. They paused because to help themselves as far as salary cap issues themselves next summer, give more flexibility. I'm sure they like him, to say the least. But now from a player standpoint, he becomes now a restricted free agent. So that will cut some of his economics of it. Now, from the playing field, now Yusuf Nurkic now will get a lot more playing time, and so will Filipowski, and those guys, and so will Kevin Love. And all 3 of those people have to come through now for the Jazz to remain competitive. And last night's game, we saw Yusuf Nurkic, how he really did a good job on the boards, and himself, he willed the Jazz defensively and got some key rebounds, even though the Jazz lost. So he got 17 boards last night. So it does affect the Jazz quickly. Add to this, so a lot of people I've talked to today on the phone about Walker Kessler. This injury happens often in sports, where you're involved in a fray and you extend your shoulder and it's torn, meaning the labrum. So the most recent NBA players who had successful labor surgery and after rehabbing is Paul George from the 76ers back in 2019, Kevin Herter now of the Bulls, Trey Murphy of the Pelicans, Herb Jones of the Pelicans, and Devin Carter of the Kings. Let's go football for a second, Scott, if I might. Remember back in 2007, Drew Brees had an injury on his shoulder, on his throwing shoulder, torn labrum. Later on, he won the championship in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a weird injury, and I swear it seems in recent years it's been more prevalent than maybe in the past, and I don't know what the reason for that is, but I just thought it was a big blow because it felt like Walker had really taken a significant step forward in his development as a player, and and you're in a contract year, and just kind of the worst possible scenario. The Jazz, you mentioned, fell to the Pistons last night. They had kind of a nice win against the Celtics before, but some of your thoughts about how the Jazz have been playing, recently, and especially on the road.
They've improved, and they're much more competitive, very much. So it's really been good. And even last night's game, it was a hard-fought battle. I mean, the Jazz are playing as a unit, and their defense has improved, and they're less dribbling and more ball hopping, which is absolutely positive. And a lot of people forget how good Larry Markkinen is. That guy can make buckets, and he plays hard, and situationally, he becomes a tough defensive cover. The other team's stretch players, meaning 3, 4, or 5. He can go around them, shoot over the top, and he has that head and shoulder fake where he can freeze the defense and attack the rim with that dribble drive to the basket. So generally speaking, the Jazz have improved dramatically, and that's good. Now the question is, can they keep getting some wins? They're 3-5 right now. They come home. They play tomorrow night against the T-Wolves. Then they come home for 4 straight home games. So the schedule always evens out, even though it seems it doesn't, but it always does. 41 home, 41 away. A long time ago, Scott, the late, great Cotton Fitzsimmons, when I entered the NBA back in 1989, said to me, Gordy, we're both former college coaches. He said, unlike college basketball or football, you can schedule some pay games and win dramatically. But in the NBA, there's 41 home and there's 41 away. And so it's a true indicator of a team's ability, to win on the road. And so the Jazz have improved, so that's encouraging. If I'm a fan, I'm encouraged.
You now that Walker's out here, I mean, I would say he's more of one of the veteran players on the team. A lot of young guys trying to get guys into the rotation and get experience. Do you like the balance so far between the younger players and the more veteran players? Do you think that's been conducive to helping these guys develop?
Yes, very much. Yeah. So, example, they're starting Steve Mihailuk, who almost didn't make the team, even though on the contract. Remember last summer, people were talking about, well, his contract, it's not really that, as far as high. It's always high in the real world. I get it. But it's on the NBA lexicon, it's not. So he makes the team, which is great. He's saying to himself, are you kidding me? I can play. And last night he gets 28 points, career high. And so that affects somewhat the development long-term now of Ace Bailey. He plays every game Bailey has played. But Mihailuk is starting, and Ace comes in the game as far as playing roughly 18 to 20 minutes and has performed well. Now, the flip side of that, also add to that, so which means then from a player development standpoint, is now the Jazz, as always, they're trying to balance getting some wins in the current tense, but also having player development. And that's when it gets so interesting. And my instincts tell me that the Jazz want to get as many wins as they can, because it's just better for the whole overall playing situation. Now, from the business side, it might not be that same as far as the mission statement. So Cody Williams is part of the equation also, and Bryce Sensabaugh. So as Mihailuk plays more and he's playing good, it stunts somewhat the development of playing time for all the other young guys. So we'll find out as the weeks and months go on if the Jazz want to win right now. I mean, as far as win, mean what? Be competitive, or I don't want to say tank, but play the younger guys more for future goals. It's that unbelievable fine line.
I wanted to ask you a question that's kind of related to the Jazz, but it's also an NBA in general. It's really a philosophy question. It feels like the idea of, got to have a superstar, and, I guess it's if you have 3 great players on your team, you can win a championship. But it feels like that maybe it's more about team ball. You look at how OKC won a championship. You look how Denver and, Denver superstar is looking to pass the ball and getting a lot of other people involved. It seemed like the 2 teams in the championship this last year. Is that just me being silly and don't know what I'm talking about, or is that kind of a trend of where it's going and how you need to win championships in the NBA today?
Yes, that's no doubt. It's not a trend. It's a foundational part of an organization. When your star players are pass happy, the whole team is happy. So in the fourth quarter, we'll say, of any game, especially in the playoffs, that's those star players, in plural, they've got to make shots and plays out of chaos. But if someone's open, they've got to be able to pass the ball and have confidence in that player. And you described absolutely the Thunder, where the whole team is pass happy. So is the Nuggets, led by Nikola Jokic. And even now, let's say the Bulls. The Bulls in the East have done a good job. They're 6-1, and they're pass happy also, led by their vastly underrated Aussie, Josh Giddey, who's getting triple-doubles, and part of triple-doubles is getting 10 dimes or more, meaning as far as assists. So as the Bulls go forward, they have a star player, that's really a budding star, that is also willing to pass. And again, the more we pass the ball in the game, the more players feel that I'm part of it, that the star players think myself as a contributor, as an off-the-bench understudy, that they think that I can play, and that creates unbelievable chemistry, both on the court, in the locker room, and more importantly, Scott, you know well, on a team airplane at 3 o'clock in the morning when you see the best and the worst out of people.
Right.
You're laughing. I love
oh boy. Well, no, I'm laughing because I want to hear the stories. I want to hear the 3 a.m. I want to hear your best 3 a.m. story on an airplane.
Oh, absolutely. I have so many of them. I have one in particular where, Karl Malone never slept. Neither do I, really.
Wow.
So in jazz basketball, yesteryear, it'd be 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be wide awake, and then most people would be sleeping, which is fine. Everybody's a different body biorhythms. So Carl would come down the aisle and seek out anybody that was wide open to talk to. So most times it was me. So suddenly Carl and I are talking at 23 in the morning, where he's either standing up or sitting across from me, and we're talking about not even the game, more about life,
right.
families, it's life. It's so different than most people think, and that's one of many stories. Or likewise, after a devastating loss, we always look around and say, who's really serious about it? After a loss, most people generally they have a hard time processing it. It takes hours after a loss on a plane ride to suddenly get back to your wits and have that magical thing where, okay, we lost the game. I don't like it. Let's move forward to the next game. And we're always trying to find out who's serious about winning.
I think there's a book, or there's a movie, maybe a mini documentary on life lessons from Karl Malone at 3 a.m. on an airplane. I really like the sound of that. That would I can only imagine what you guys talked about.
Unique. And Scott, that's why these people are star players. This is why there's so much pressure. You play at the NFL at highest level. There's so much pressure to win, even though they make a lot of money. And so in the real world, they can't relate to it. But when you're around these athletes, like you and I are over for decades, is that you can see they're human beings. And even though they're strong body, there's frailty about them. And we as coaches, we as teammates, we as people that are around the sports world, we're able to understand how they think, and we try to help them through all the different ups and downs and criticism, especially now in this generation with social media, where it changes everything. Yesteryear it wasn't like that. Now the last 20 years, yes, it is. And so especially in playoff games, and so in jazz basketball, they're trying to have that balance of winning and developing, and some of the better teams are trying to win right now because the development stage is started already quickly. The T-Wolves, Scott, tomorrow night, the Jazz play the last part of the road trip in Minnesota, and the T-Wolves, for the Jazz point of view, they've got to be able to guard the three-point shot. The T-Wolves are the second most accurate team in the NBA, shooting from three-point range, 41.2. The only team better shooting at three-point range is the Houston Rockets, that are shooting 42.7. All the Jazz fans, in case you're wondering, yes, the T-Wolves meaning Timberwolves, have 4 Jazz alumni on their roster. Rudy Gobert in his 13th season in the NBA. Michael Conley in his 19th season in the NBA. Joe Ingles, the Aussie with a swag, in his 12th season in the NBA. And Johnny Juzang in his 4th season in the NBA. So, Scott, yes, the T-Wolves could be Utah Midwest on their roster.
No kidding. Wow. And then they come back and play again on Monday. Is that hard to play a team like that twice in 2 back-to-back games? I mean, they're not back-to-back as far as days, but on the schedule.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely. And I said this often. There's 29 other NBA teams. Why would you want to play the exact same team in regular season back-to-back? Usually speaking, the winning team, whoever wins the first game, there's a slight letdown mentally in the second game, whether it's literally Monday or Tuesday or Monday and Wednesday. Just how it plays out. This time it's for the Jets. It's Friday night and Monday. And so there's a slight letdown. And so I'm against it. And, Jazz basketball, it happens again, later on, where the Jazz played the Houston Rockets on Sunday, November 30th, and then they play the very next day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday game. Then they play Monday night, again, the Rockets. So it's back-to-back games at the Delta Center against the same team. So, Scott,
crazy.
I'm not a mathematician, but I think they have algorithms, and they can figure out how to not play a team back-to-back.
I'm with you. I don't understand the scheduling sometimes myself. I know you have a list for us. What do you got today?
My list today involves Karl Malone, so I'm glad we could talk about him.
There you go.
Here we go. Most career regular season games scoring 30-plus points. So career NBA players scoring 30 points 30-plus points in an NBA game. Hit some of the attributes of a dominant point producer. 1, ball skills and shot creator. 2, superior shooting touch, inside, outside, or outside, inside. 3, basket making through physicality. 4, frequent free-throw marksman. And lastly, 5, supreme confidence, alpha dog personality. Number 12, all-time, 30 points or more career-wise. Elgin Baylor did it 343 times. Number 11, all-time, Allen Iverson, 345. Number 10, the Human Highlights film, Dominique Wilkins did it 346. Number 9, Jerry West did it 350. Number 8, Oscar Robertson did it 387 times. Number 7, he plays the Houston Rockets right now, Kevin Durant, 7th all-time, with 411 30-point games. Number 6, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it 429. Number 5, the late, great Kobe Bryant did it 431 times. Number 4, I mentioned earlier, Karl Malone in Jazz basketball scored 30 points or more in 435 games. Number 3, Wilt Chamberlain scored 30 or more 516 times. Number 2, all-time, Michael Jordan scored 30 points or more in 560. He scored 562 times 30 points or more in 1,072 games. The all-time leader in most games scoring 30 points or more. He plays for the LA Lakers. He's hurt right now. LeBron James did it 571 times in 1,562. So which means that Jordan did it 562, LeBron 571. So LeBron has played 490 more career games than Michael Jordan, second place.
Wow.
What about Jazz basketball? Larry Markkinen, mentioned earlier. He scored 30 points or more 48 times in his career, including 4 times already this year in 9 games.
Huh. That's amazing. I didn't realize Karl was that high up on that list. That's quite a list. Love it.
So you can imagine consistency that in game planning and the scouting report, everyone's trying to stop you and hurt you, and you're able to deliver those numbers. So whether LeBron, Michael, Wilt, or Karl Malone, or Kobe, etc., that's how great these guys are.
I just wonder about Dominique Wilkins, because he was with the Jazz, and what would have happened had he stayed with the Jazz, and would it have been a possible world to have Dominique Wilkins and Karl Malone on the same team?
Yeah. So for the listeners right now, Scott is dating himself. Only second to me, I might add, is that in 1982, the Jazz drafted Dominique Wilkins, but it's hard to imagine now that they couldn't make payroll. So Frank Layden, the very astute general manager, head coach of the Jazz, that was living on the edge as far as the shoestring budget, he traded the rights to Dominique Wilkins for $1 million in cash and got back John Drew and other players to make the Jazz be able to run their organization financially. That's how it's changed over the years. Now the NBA South, the mid-level exception, which means 50% of the players make above this, 50 below right now, is roughly $13.5 million.
It's a different world. It's monopoly money, but we're just living in it. So, hey, really appreciate your time. Always a pleasure to chat, Coach. Have a great day.
Thanks, Scott. Peace out.
All right. There you have it, folks. Coach Gordy Chiesa. Yeah, it's fascinating where the NBA, really all sports are today. So very cool. Hot lunch, Big Willie's is right around the corner. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. I know you're hungry. I'm hungry. This is Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean. We're here on ESPN 792.1 FM, and it's time for hot lunch, of course, with Big Willie's. From craft foods to craft cocktails, Big Willie's is the sports bar. Check them out, 1717 South Main Street in Salt Lake City. They brought in lunch today. It's amazing. What are your thoughts, James?
Yeah, it was a honey mustard chicken sandwich. I say was because I just downed it, Scott. Like, it's so good. And
so are you like one of those illusionists? You're just like, hey, watch, here it is, and there it's gone.
Now you
I don't know where it
see
went.
me, now you don't. Yeah. So, and they brought in onion rings with it, and I'm usually a fries over onion rings guy, but those onion rings were immaculate. Loved those. So definitely recommend that. Head over to Big Willie's, get the honey mustard chicken sandwich, or honestly, everything they brought in has been amazing. So you can't go wrong with anything on their menu, but today's featured menu item for the hot lunch is the honey mustard chicken sandwich with the onion rings. Like I said, I typically recommend the fries, but I'm going to recommend the onion rings with this time, Scott. They were fluffy and delicious.
Ooh, fluffy. There's nothing better than really good onion rings. I
You like
would
onion rings
pick
more than fries?
really good onion rings over fries, but they have to be really good.
Yeah.
And of course these are. So
absolutely.
You can't go wrong with the fry or the onion rings at Big Willie's. All right. I had a very strong take a week ago about the Devin Dampier Bird Ficklin saga, which wasn't a saga. It kind of was and wasn't, but man, Bird looked so good when he got into play and start for Devin against the Buffaloes. And of course, last week, Devin looked really good against Cincinnati and really in a significant game. That the more impressive part is that Devin played very well against a good team. And there's a lot of strategy, a lot of long-term thinking about who should be in at quarterback and when and why and all this stuff. And now things have really dramatically changed. One, Utah's in really good position as far as, winning out. And there's a I would say, strong possibility of making the college football playoffs. But this whole quarterback situation where I've always been a firm believer, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. And that might not be the case. In reality, Utah having two quarterbacks might be having three quarterbacks in the game at the same time. It really opens up a very creative opportunity in the playbook. And it could be one of those things where if developed right and done right, and it's just me spewing off here, I'm not in the meetings and I'm not in how they talk about their strategy or develop game plans or whatever, but it feels like Bert Ficklin is a playmaker. And he's a playmaker both running and throwing the football. Devin's the same way. And Utah's looking for playmakers, so play them both at the same time. That's my theory. And you saw what happened where Devin lined up in the slot, comes in motion.
Yeah.
Someone hands it off to him. I think it was a running back who actually handed it off to him. But I mean, you could throw the ball 3 or 4 times behind the line of scrimmage before you actually threw it down the field, or you could actually do extended RPOs with the quarterbacks coming in motion. And, imagine Bert Ficklin in motion on a fly sweep, and he can either run a sweep or he could throw a pass. Or, I mean, there's just a ton of flexibility in how you can do this. Cause so often you take the quarterback, like they were doing the Wildcat with Wayshawn Parker, and they put the quarterback out kind of way wide, and they go, you're not getting the ball, and it's like, if you had a quarterback in doing the Wildcat and the quarterback out on the slot, you could do one of those run up into the line, throw it back to the quarterback. But there's just so much. I mean,
imagine the double pass. We see the double pass wide receiver pass downfield. Imagine the double pass throw to a quarterback, and then the quarterback throws it downfield. Like that could be so good. My one criticism of when they've gone to these Wildcat formations or the two quarterback formations is that it's been predictable. It's like, okay, well, Bird's running,
right,
or Wayshawn's taking the snap and he's running. It's like, it's just what you're saying, like. And I know they have to take, in football, you have to take time to set things up. You have to prime the defense for the trick play, right? So it takes longer than the average fan thinks to do the predictable thing before you can hit on the unpredictable thing. But I'd like to see them go to that, like, let's have Bird throw the ball when he's in, and Devin, maybe throw to Devin, or have him, or fake pass to Devin and throw to a wide open receiver, or jet sweep like you're saying. I'd like to see them open that up a little bit more, and hopefully against Baylor, maybe maybe later on they'll do that.
I think what you're seeing a little bit is less of the defensive players. And the defensive players playing offense, to me, were an indication that they didn't feel like they had any playmakers on offense. And now all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of production from Devin Dampier and Bird Fickland and Daniel Bray and Wayshawn and JJ and Dallin Bentley and Ryan Davis. And, he saw a little bit of Creed Whittemore this past week. So the cupboards aren't bare offensively. They're a little bit unconventional. They look a little bit out of sorts, but it's production, and you can consistently get great production out of those position groups. It'll be fascinating. Now, to your point, and I brought this up in our broadcast, clearly right now when Wayshawn is in the Wildcat, they're running the football. And Wayshawn's not really helping himself out very much with the pink gloves, the pink shoes, and the pink. And I understand Breast Awareness Week, and that's a very good thing to be a part of. But it surely lets everyone know. We know that the quarterback's not in the backfield right now because the guy with all the pink on is the guy there. If he's a little bit more subtle, maybe he might get away with it a little bit. But it's almost like Hunter's orange in the backfield, and so you cannot miss Wayshawn. Now Wayshawn has certainly taken a step forward in being running back one, and I think he is right now. But a lot of creativity, and we're going to hear from part of that creativity here around the corner. Of course, it's a bye week, so we don't have a new episode of Dishin' with Devin, but we certainly have. We certainly do have an addition. OC's exclusive interview with Devin Dampier is right up around the corner. You don't want to miss it. Right here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 921 FM.
Let's get right to it here at the campus store. Devin Dampier, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, it's good to see you.
Man, happy to be here.
I'm not going to lie, I was sad to not see you on the field on Saturday night, but ultimately it worked out. How are you feeling right now? How's the leg? How's the body? How's the health?
Really good. I'm happy, my team performed the way they did, both sides especially, but offense obviously, Bird handled the situation great. They allowed me to, have an extra couple of days of, recovery, and, now I feel better.
We were told it was truly a game-time decision on Saturday night. How close did you feel you were, able to go? When did you make the decision that if you were going to be asked, and I know you were, like, hey, it might be in the best interest of everybody if Bird takes this one?
Yeah, I was still available to play. Truly, I still could have got in that game if it was needed. But, again, we had a lot of confidence in Bird. He practiced well during that whole entire week. And, the freshman was going to go out there and, do what he did.
He had a great game. The offensive line had there's nobody who didn't have a great game, right? So take me inside the locker room, take me inside the program right now. With a big bounce-back victory like that, washes the bad taste of the BYU loss out of everyone's mouth and puts you guys right back in the hunt for the things that you hope you can achieve this season.
Yeah, I said it before. We lost to Texas Tech, and we bounced back every single time. So it was nothing new to us. We know how to move on from games, and, we know how to go back out there and play U football. So we know that, the championship is still in play for us, and, we know we got to win out.
I was talking to coaches. I was talking to other players, and, it's hard to really, I guess, put into words how difficult a bounce back like that can be because these losses, they are emotional. You guys put in so much work, and everyone starts talking their noise, myself included. And you got to tune it all out. Coaches tell me, well, it's the leadership on this team. It's the locker room itself that allows for these bounce backs to happen. I mean, I've been watching Utah football for a long, long time. I don't remember it happening exactly like this in any season where when a team does stub its toe, the immediate response, a West Virginia game, and in this case a Colorado game, is like the most impressive performance of the year. So you tell me in your words, like, what is the key to that bounce back? How have you been able to achieve that as a team?
Yeah, again, our leaders, our captains, we are the ones who get looked at first. So it's big for us to, again, the team's looking at us. We got to be able to move on from those games. They definitely sting. They hurt. We talk about it. We learn from it. And then, it's on to the next week. We get another game every Saturday. So got to look forward to that one and get the job done.
What was it like for you watching instead of being out there, orchestrating this bounce back and being the one that on the second play of the game is taking it all the way to the house? I know you're a good teammate, but I also know you're a competitor, so it probably wasn't your favorite thing just sitting there watching.
Yeah, no, it was a little hard for me. That was probably the first game I've ever missed just in my college career, so it was a little different. But just, again, I know I was the leader of this team, and just every time the offense came to the sideline, I'm making sure I'm talking to everyone, making sure the vibes are still good and all that. But
we've talked about it, right? The relationship you have with Bird, it's been good all year long. And in this game, in the post game, Scott Mitchell and Bill Riley and Sly were talking to him, and they kind of asked him, all right, how did you know? When did you know? And one of the things he highlighted was that you came up to him and you kind of passed the baton, so to speak, for the week and said, hey, you go do this. This team trusts you. So is it big brother, little brother right now? Is it best friends? What is the relationship with you and Bird after now he's got a successful start under his belt?
Yeah, we're not too many years apart, so big brother, little brother might be. But, I'm probably definitely the leader out of the room for sure. But, just as much as he looks up to me, I look up to him too, just the way he carries himself and, how happy he is just every day. The whole team feeds off both our energies during practices and things like that. So, I'm happy he was well prepared when I told him take this week serious because, it might be your time. And he was all ready for it.
422 yards of rushing at halftime. Colorado was in the negative. I mean, that's like Madden performance. That's like you playing on easy. That's like NCAA football dynasty mode, and you've created all the players, right? I mean, that was as dominant a performance as I can remember from a Utah offense. As you're game planning, because I know you were practicing during the week, as you were game planning and you were watching the film and you were preparing, did you have a sense that it could go that way against Colorado?
Yeah, we got full confidence in our team and the way we've been running the ball all year. So, You know, we didn't expect nothing different to go in this game and showcase that well. In our O-line, you know, they had a little, you know, disrespect towards them before the game. However, they wanted to take that, and, you know, they took it the right way. We definitely showed that in the trenches. We went up front, and, again, that makes our playmakers have the best possibility of scoring the ball.
Okay, so what's the right balance? Because I know that there's an effort to kind of tune out the noise, and if there is disrespect, to just ignore whatever. But then it can be a motivator too, right? So, like, how do you find the balance of just ignoring what fan bases, opposing fan bases, your own fan base, idiots on the radio, ignoring that kind of stuff, but also being like, oh, okay, I'm going to pay attention to that particular point. I'm going to write it on the bulletin board, and I'm going to let it be something that motivates me.
Yeah, no, it's something you let it motivates you energy-wise. The way we play football here at Utah, you know, we play really good football here. So just keep that going, but also, you know, turn up the juice a little bit and, you know, let them feel you a little bit. So that's kind of how we took it.
All right. I want to talk about the Cincinnati matchup, but I don't want to ignore what's going on here at the Red Zone store. This is such a foreign thing because, you know, I played in the dark ages when nobody had NIL deals, when they couldn't put names on the back of jerseys. You know, if you knew whose number was on the mannequin, but you were just like, don't put the name on there because then you got to pay a player or whatever. You don't, not just Devin Dampier jerseys and shirts and hoodies, but, like, you got your own graphics here. We're working with this Spider-Man theme. Tell me how this came about.
You know, my agents, they did a good job. They got reached out to, and, you know, especially NIL, you know, the store, they had some pretty cool ideas. They presented it to me, and, man, I was like, let's go with it. That's pretty sick to, you know, have that. And just the amount of people I see at the games, you know, with just being able to wear that merch, you know, it means a lot to me, honestly. Especially, you know, my parents were just telling me every time they come to the game, they're catching someone at the airport wearing something. So, you know, that's pretty cool as a community to know they're behind me.
Whose jersey were you wearing when you were coming up? Like, you're 10-year-old Devin, right? You're going out to play football with your boys or whatever. Whose jerseys were you wearing? Because we've learned this about you. You're a fan of players probably even more than you're a fan of teams. So,
yeah.
So when you were taking, you know, you're going to the store with mom and dad, you're like, hey, let me get that number 4 with the Spider-Man webbing on it. Who was that for you?
I had a Brett Favre jersey, to be honest.
Brett Favre?
Yeah, Brett Favre. That's where I
Man, you surprise me every time I ask you about what's your favorite sport besides football? Soccer. Who's the guy's jersey?
I'm all around.
Brett Favre. Okay. It's not what I would have expected, but I love it.
Yeah, the Brett Favre jersey, that stuck with me, though, for a pretty long time. Had the
Brett Favre Packers, right?
Yeah, I had the
Brett
Packers.
Favre Vikings or Jets.
My parents are big Vikings fans, so it was a little crazy that I had the Packers one on.
You do have those Minnesota roots. Did that was that like an act of defiance wearing Packers gear around? Like, were people giving you hate at school for stuff like that?
Well, I was there for a little bit, but one of my cousins is a huge Packer fan, so when the game happens, you know, it's always the family's a little bit on one side or the other.
Is that why you wear 4?
That isn't exactly why I wear 4, but he's a great person I was able to look up to and be like, I can represent 4 probably.
Okay, all right. Devin Dampier is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Happy to have him at the Utah Red Zone. The new Devin Dampier merch is released, is out, is available. Man, you've got the Spider-Man theme going. Probably incorrectly, we've taken some credit for the Spidey Sense stuff, you know, because we were talking about that in our first conversation. The NIL company, you really leaned into this. It works.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's very me.
Are you a fan of the comic books? Are you a fan of the Spider-Man movies?
Yeah, I'm a big movie guy. I gotta get in the comic books though. So many people say the books are better, and it's like, all right, I gotta get that time.
When I was a kid, we were very into comic books. X-Men was my thing. My brother and I had like the subscription. They send it to your house every month. That was 30 years ago, and now there's so many different titles. There's so many spin-off stories. I couldn't even follow all of it. So
yeah, there's a lot.
Good luck getting into it now.
I have my time when I retire. Just kick up. really get out all the information I need.
We don't want to talk about retirement yet. Not with Devin Dampier, QB number 1. So, what's the practice been like so far this week? You know, you said you were available to go last week if you had been needed. I imagine you get extra treatment, extra rest over the weekend. And, we've had this conversation twice now. Do you feel like you're back towards 100%?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten healthier. I've taken majority of the reps also, and, Bird's also getting those reps too, just in case worst comes to worst for me. But, we're handling the situation very well. I feel very confident going into this weekend. So, yeah.
How much of the playbook do you feel like you need to be able to run to where you can look your offensive line, you can look your coaches, you can look your teammates in the face and say, like, no, I'm 100%, I'm good. You need to start me in this game, because obviously your ability to move is a big part of what makes you a great quarterback, right? So probably even more so than some other guys in the conference and in the country, you got to be healthier than some guys, right? So how much of the playbook has to be available to you for you to feel like in good conscience you're doing the best thing, not just for yourself but for your team?
Basically almost all of it, to be honest. Again, we've shown we're a very rushing team, and we can also pass the ball as well. But running the ball is something we do very well. So for me to be able to do that, I think that gives our offense the best chance of winning games.
Dish It with Dev. Devin Dampier is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, brought to you by Culligan Water of Salt Lake City. Taste the Culligan difference. ARUP Blood Services, Give Local, Save Local, America First Credit Union, hooking you up with a conversation with QB1 every week. All right, so Colorado's in the rear view. A game like that, just like a loss, you can only think about it for 24 hours, and you got to flush even a great performance, and you got to move on. Now you've got Cincinnati, a really good team, a top 25 team, one of the most prolific offenses in the conference and in the country right now, one of the most efficient quarterbacks in college football on the opposite side of things. What are you seeing? I know you watch the defensive film a lot more, but what are you seeing from Cincinnati, and how can you attack them?
Yeah, a great team all around. There's a reason why they're ranked again, and it's a very competitive Big 12 conference. So, I think they're one of those teams, obviously we played ranked teams before, and, they match up just as well with them. So, just another test for us to, prove ourselves again.
When you look at their defensive line in particular, they got the Corleone kid who's thought of as an NFL prospect at least. They've done a really good job of kind of leaning into the freak athletes on their team. They've got a bunch of guys that are, I wouldn't say depth is their strength, but they got a bunch of guys with crazy speed, crazy measurables. Is anyone popping out to you when you watch that film?
Yeah, I guess I couldn't say one in particular, but I will say, up front, I do think they do a great job, with what they do. Especially, I'm a big on formation and, how they play us and things like that. So, X's and O's wise, they do some things that are a little challenging for, the offense to work around. And, again, when you have the athletes to be at that spot and do what they do, they have a talented group as well. So, you put that together, we're going to have to put our best foot forward to have a great outcome.
When we talked about this last week as well, when you have a guy or a couple of guys that at this point in the season, you're now more than halfway through, and, some of these young individuals, Buchanan, Bray, as we talked about a lot, really starting to come into their own, adding another wrinkle to an offense that you're very comfortable in. You know this whole playbook. You ran this thing last year. Now you've got a couple extra weapons at your disposal as these guys kind of really grow into their college football bodies, their college football confidence, things like that. How much does that add to this offense? Because if you're Cincinnati and you're watching the film, you have a couple of weeks where you can say, oh, man, this Bray kid, they're actually going to use this guy. But it's not like they got a full season of it, so you could still surprise some teams with stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure, especially, the way, those young guys been stepping up recently too. Yeah, I mean, we're a very wide open offense. Again, that's why, I need to be at being able to run 100% of the offense because, we do so many things in so many different ways. So, when our players are able to do those things at a very high level, just puts a lot more stress on the defense.
As we talk about the new talents that are emerging, one thing that is a staple of what you guys are doing, and we expect it to be a staple of what you're doing, is that offensive line. They've done a good job of protecting you for the most part this year. They did a phenomenal job against Colorado of opening up the holes. I know you don't speak for all of them, but how is that offensive line feeling? How healthy is that group? And do you feel like they're in the right spot?
Yeah, I love those boys. I'm around them all the time. They set a goal at the beginning. They wanted to win the Joe Moore. That's just something, that they've wanted since the beginning. So I think they're doing a great job at it. They let me know every game. They love me. They're going to protect me, put their bodies on the line for me. Again, no one's ever 100% healthy in football. That's just how the sport works at this point. But the fact, if you watch them boys, you can't even see it. They're real troopers. I love those guys.
By the way, that offensive line, that Joe Moore Award, awarded every year to the best offensive line in football. Jeff Schwartz, who's a weekly guest on the show, is part of that voting committee. And I ask him all the time, is Utah still in the running for that award? And one of the things that's really interesting in college football this year, and with offensive line play in particular, is he told us on the show yesterday, he said there's not one offensive line that's been great and dominant in every game. So that award is still very much up for grabs. You can tell him that, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to take that personal. Don't worry. They're going to step up, watch.
All right, we have to talk about another dynamic in this game. We've got College Game Day on campus. ESPN rolling out the big red carpet, right? McAfee show is going to be broadcast from town. You've got a WWE event this weekend. I mean, there's several different spotlights being put on this game. For Utah fans, that should be all cause for celebration. Hey, let's go. This is so much fun. But people are starting to get superstitious because in the recent trend has been that these big games, these spotlight games, have not worked out for the University of Utah. How should we think about that? How should we handle that as a fan base, as observers? Because, big noon kickoff, BYU game, big noon kickoff, Texas Tech game, and now people are nervous that College Game Day is going to be on this one. How are you processing it?
Yeah, I'm not superstitious at all. I go about my day the same and everything. If anything changes, I'm not too big on it. But, I think it's great for us at just being at Utah. I think the fans should handle it great. I mean, honestly, the amount of attention that we've gotten this year and just the way we're handling it as a community, as a team, I think we've been well at it. So this is just another week for, our fans to be able to show, what Utah's about and to have that attention again. So, we're going to be locked in. We're going to be dialed in again.
Did you watch Game Day coming up? Was this a part of your Saturdays as a kid, as a, middle schooler, as a high schooler? Were you watching College Game Day?
Yeah, for sure. Who don't watch it before all them games come on? It's definitely something that everyone's tuned into.
So is it still surreal for you in any way that, it already happened on the big noon kickoff? They were talking about you all the time. You're going to have Kirk Herbstreit and those guys breaking you down. There's going to be Devin Dampier highlight packages on a show that you came up watching. Is that strange for you? Does your family, screenshot you and all look at Dev? How do you react to it, and how does the people around you react to it?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in my life right now. So, everything's just blurring across my face right now. But, definitely when I get time to just be by myself and think about it and just think about where I'm at right now and how blessed in the situation I'm in. It is pretty crazy. But, I'm very happy to be here and, just keep going.
Young athletes are dreamers, right? Especially quarterback types. I'm sure you visualized in your mind the game-winning drives, the touchdown passes, all that kind of stuff. Did young Dev ever imagine that being featured on Game Day, on Big Noon Kickoff, having your own damn merchandise that people are lining up to buy, like the Spider-Man theme? In your wildest, I'm talking young Dev imagination, did you think this was going to be part of your life?
On a serious level, everything's always in question, but, as a little kid, you're always, especially with my brother, we're always doing the last second,
sure,
running around, 3, 2, 1, I'm throwing the ball and stuff like that. But, yeah, as I got older and just realized, I'm getting closer to my goals, I'm really happy about my journey and where I'm at now, especially here. I feel like, this is all I could ask for out of a college experience. And, I'm glad to be a Ute.
What's the possibility that we see you and Bird on the field at the same time a lot of times against Cincinnati?
It's very possible. Bird's a heck of an athlete, and so am I. So, I think our skill sets, we're very alike. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I know Coach Beck likes that when we saw it when when Bird was starting, but in the spot duty, a lot of those plays you're still on the field, motion out, split out, whatever, so that a defense doesn't know what's going to happen. Is that something that was part of the offense at New Mexico, or is that just because now you got two guys that you could use that are effectively interchangeable?
Yeah, we did something like that a little bit at New Mexico, but yeah, Bird's one of those guys. You probably want the ball in his hands at some point during the game because he's going to make a big play for you, rather with his legs or his arms. So yeah, it's pretty scary.
I should have asked this before when we were talking about Colorado, but one of my favorite things about that game was that we saw in the fourth quarter especially, we saw a bunch of people on the field that are probably not getting on the field for the rest of the year, that hadn't been on the field yet previous to that, right? You go down deep in the depth chart, third-string defense, you get the backup offensive line in there and stuff like that, and you get to see some of those guys have big moments, make big plays, have success. Those are team chemistry building moments when little brother gets to be on the field and the guy has been grinding and working and busting his ass in the weight room, he gets his moment in the sun. Was there a player or a couple of players in particular that you got to see kind of have that moment against Colorado that everybody was hyped about? I mean, the starters, I was down there on the sideline, the starters were going nuts for everything, supporting their guys. But were there any players that you were just like, finally he gets to feel what it's like to do the Devin Dampier thing where I'm scoring touchdowns or whatever?
I think Nate Johnson definitely, stands out in that group for sure. Someone that was waiting for his opportunity to come back up. And, he got in that end zone. He's been here before at Utah before, he transferred and came back. And just a lot of those guys knew Nate before, too. So a lot of our guys were happy to see him get that touchdown. And, it honestly, with that opportunity at the end of the games, that is your shot to, get back in the scheme and what we're doing. And, I think, he pretty much earned that.
By the way, if you didn't watch that live because you were already getting to the parking lot and trying to beat traffic or whatever, go find the highlight of that Nate Johnson scoring play because it was one of those football plays that even the most uneducated eye, you could see was going to be a touchdown. Like the whole open, it was like Moses parting the Red Sea. There was no tackler within 1,000 yards, and Nate Johnson obviously has the wheels. You just saw that thing open up. It was like, oh,
yeah,
that's
gone.
going to the house.
Yeah, he's
gone. Good night, goodbye. That's one that made it look easy.
Yeah, that was good all around. Again, even our O-line that was out there to see them, make the holes that they were making during that time. Huge kudos to them as well.
All right, now to the most important part of our conversation. Halloween this week. Where do you stand on Halloween? Are you a dress up, take it real seriously kind of guy? Are you I went trick-or-treating for 4 hours and filled up a whole pillowcase full of candy? Give me the Devin Dampier Halloween treatment.
Growing up, I was huge on candy. I used to hit the big neighborhoods. Everything was king size, no matter what door you're at.
Everybody, all of you people out there, all of you lawyers, doctors, business owners, I just want you to know that Halloween is the time when you are most appreciated by society because every kid from every state knows where the rich neighborhoods are. And they get dropped off, and they go get those king-size candy bars.
They go get them.
It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, I think the way I used to trick-or-treat, I used to have candy for like a month. Yeah, I used to be crazy back in.
And now, like if
now it's a little more. It's now I'm on the treater side. I give the treats out.
You hand out candy.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times.
Okay. Do you dress up? Do you still like? Because I'll be honest, I got little kids, right? So Halloween is fun for kids. I love like regular adult me without kids. I'm not dressing up. I don't care about Halloween at all. You're kind of in that phase of life where you get to decide, do I still care about Halloween or not? Like if someone says, hey, Dev, dress up as Spider-Man, are you doing it?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I might dress up as Spider-Man not on Halloween.
That's kind of weird.
But I mean, it is college though. College Hall weekend is definitely a thing. We got a game this week, so it has nothing to do with me. But
so how's that going to work for members of the team? You guys, Friday night you can't go to Halloween parties.
Yeah, we're excluded.
You can't go trick or treating. Saturday it's a night game, so I mean everyone's going to be in their costumes at Rice Eccles Stadium. I guess you guys don't get to enjoy Halloween this year.
Yeah, see, we got to win, so Sunday will be great for people who want to still make that. So, got to get it done on the field first.
Save some trick-or-treat candy for Devin and for the rest of this Utah football team because they don't get to trick-or-treat. They don't get to go to the Halloween parties. But we're hoping for a big win against Cincinnati. Dev, it's always great catching up with you. Congrats on all this new stuff you got going on. Anything else behind the scenes that we don't know about yet? Or like, you working on a movie or a documentary or anything like that you want to tease?
No, I ain't got nothing going on. It's pretty crazy right now.
All right. Come to the Utah Red Zone. So we're on campus. We're going to have players and athletes from the department coming through all show long. Devin Dampier, the new merch drop. You got to check these out. The number 4 jersey with the spider web. You got the Devin Dampier as Spider-Man hoodies out. The crew necks as well. We got more players coming. We got a lot going on. That's Dishing with Dev, brought to you by ARUP Blood Services. Give local, save local. Who else are we? The America First Credit Union, obviously. Culligan Water of Salt Lake City. Taste the Culligan difference. Dev, good luck this week.
Thank you.
You're the man. Polylift Concrete Lifting and Piering. That's the one I forget. Those guys also hooking you up with Dishing with Dev.
Oh boy, how would you like it if you came home from school, and your mom says, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I used to be a spy." That really happened. It happened recently. So this mom, 5 kids, husband, married, they live abroad. She supposedly works for the State Department, and she was actually a spy. And her husband knew, but he didn't know. Never asked any questions. Kids never knew. So she retires and he says, "Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I used to be a spy." Anyways, this is Sean O'Connell's show. There's a daily dump for you right there. Hey, Mom. Yeah. Could you come to school for like career day? No, sorry, I can't. Can't really say anything about what I did.
Or if she did, it's like, yeah, I helped file paperwork for the government.
Yeah. Yeah. I worked for an extermination company.
Yeah.
Got rid of bugs, all kinds of things. Hazardous duty though. So, James, your parents, any indication that they might be spies?
Nah, there's never any indication there, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they were. I don't know.
My dad,
I guess
one
you're
time
not
had
supposed to know, right? So
right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you really know your parents? My these are kind of funny things. So my dad got offered a job from the mafia once to work for the mafia.
Really?
Yeah. He said no.
So what did they offer it? What did they ask him to do?
My parents were living in Phoenix, Arizona, in the early 1960s. This is before I was born.
All right.
And so the story maybe is a little embellished, but my dad told it to me, so
it's got to be true.
Although my dad told me a story once, and I totally believed him. So he got this new car, and it had these like little lights out on the hood, and it showed your blinker. It was kind of it was a Cadillac. It was a nice car.
Yeah. Was it the ones where the headlights come out of the hood, they open up out of the hood, that kind of thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
It could have been. But that wasn't where it was. But I said, "What's that?" And he says, "Oh, it's a sensor on the car that the car basically drives itself." And this is in the 1970s.
This is way
like
before
late
Tesla, people.
And my dad was telling me the biggest, baloney story in the world. And
so the mafia story might not have been true, is what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. But he goes, I says, "How does it work?" And he goes, "Oh, it just picks up on the road. It actually picks up the lines. So the lane marking lines is what it picks up." I bought that whole thing.
And then he ran into a very young Elon Musk, and he told him that story, and now we have Tesla and self-driving cars, all because.
All right, since we're on the subject of my dad, he also had a meeting with Stephen R. Covey.
All right,
and he goes, I want to start this new company, and I want to do these 7 habits of highly effective people, time management, and all this stuff. And my dad said he was like about 40 minutes late to the meeting, and his papers were disheveled and all over the place. And he's like, "Okay, you want to start a time management thing, and you're 40 minutes late, and you're like unorganized." He said, "Nah, I think I'll pass." Anyways, that became.
So he got fired, or he quit because he didn't think he fit the company.
Well, he just turned down the opportunity with Stephen R.
Okay.
Covey. This was before he became hugely successful. And he turned down the mafia, those 2 things.
Yeah. One of those 2 things is definitely true.
If he would have just stuck with the headlight thing, he was onto something. Just stuck with that a little bit longer. Onto something.
Real quick, my dad, now this was something we never believed, but he was convinced that we believed it. But he also liked to tell those kind of fibs, right? So he bought us a croquet set. And when he taught us how to play croquet, he's like, I was a professional croquet player. And we're like probably 8, 9, 10. I'm probably 8, 9, 10. My brother's only a year and a couple years older than me, so they're in that range too. And so he's like thinks he got us with that. He's like, "Yeah, I played for the Utah Wickets." The professional croquet team. And then I remember years later he's like, "Oh man, I had James so bad on that." And I'm like, I just kind of let him have that. I'm like, "Yeah, you totally did, Dad." But yeah, my dad loved to tell those kind of stories too.
Yeah, you went around telling your friends, yeah, my dad was a professional
athlete. More impressive professional croquet player or starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions, Scott Mitchell. I don't know.
So I have people that run into me and they go, "You look familiar," and I go, "Oh, I get that all the time." I go, I mean, I'm kind of a big deal. You
might have seen me on TV.
Yeah, I'm kind of famous, and they think I'm joking, right? And then I say, no, really, I was. And the first thing I lead off with is I was on a reality TV show. And they're like, no way, which one? And then I tell, and then they're like, well, yeah, of course, and blah, blah, blah. And then, anyways, kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah. It's
the fun thing that former has-been athletes, they find humor in is when they halfway get recognized in public. That's the thrill of my week right there, Jane.
So happy for you.
Yeah, it's changed my life. Okay. We got our daily dump here, and there's some good and some bad, and I think I'm going to start out with some good. Alexander Ovechkin got his 900th career goal last night.
Is that incredible?
He's the founding member of the 900 Club and the only member.
Yeah.
I'm not only what is that? I'm not only a customer, I'm actually the owner.
Yeah.
So he's everything in the 900 Club. So incredible. But the thing about it is St. Louis Blues goalie Jordan Binnington tried to hide the puck. I would totally try to hide the puck.
Did you read the story, Scott? Did you read where he had it hidden?
Where did he hide the puck?
He had it in
his water bottle.
He had it in his hockey pants. He put it in. He caught it or he got it fished it out of the net and then put it in his pants. And then anyway, Ovi ended up
and just hoping no one would notice, right?
Yeah.
It's like, nah, no one's gonna notice.
Ovechkin ended up getting it from him. But and the story doesn't go into that detail. That's not safe for radio. No. He ends up getting the record-setting puck from him. But yeah, that's a move I think all of us would do, Scott. We would. Hey,
well,
I wonder if
Jordan said, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to put it in my hockey pants and see if he wants it after that."
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is where this has been. It's all yours, buddy, if you want it. Because it's not something you have. You can't wash that, right? You have because it's got to be pristine. It's got to be how it was, So you can't be doing that. Do you know how hard hockey? Have you ever felt a hockey puck before?
I haven't. We actually had this discussion. One of OC's poll questions last week, Scott. It's funny you bring this up. Was what would you rather, not what would you rather? What is the worst thing to get hit in the face with? A fist, like in a combat sport, you're a fighter, or a hockey puck, or a baseball, or people wrote in lacrosse ball, golf ball. So, yeah, I have not been hit in the face with a puck. Have you? Or anywhere with a puck?
I will tell you, I can rank those right now.
Can you?
Hockey puck is number 1. Lacrosse ball would be number 2. Baseball would be number 3. And getting punched in the face would be number 4.
What have you been hit in the head with a golf ball, Scott?
Curious. No, wait, a golf ball. Well, that'd kill you right there if you got hit in the
I told this story last week when we were talking about this. I have accidentally hit myself in the head with a golf ball. So we're playing. I'm probably.
Wait, you hit yourself?
Yeah, it's yeah. So we're playing.
That's almost physiologically impossible. Just so you know.
Yeah.
So
just listen to the story here. We were playing wall ball. So do you know what wall ball is? We didn't have the rubber ball like the racquetball type ball that we typically play with. I'm like, for some reason I had a golf ball in my pocket. I'm in elementary school, right? Not very smart yet. Still not very smart.
Is this before or after your dad told you about croquet?
Yeah, it was probably around the same time.
Okay.
So I'm like, we'll use this golf ball. It goes off the wall. It goes really high, and I can't see it because it's so small, right? Hits me right in the forehead. I think I thought I was going to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, golf ball is not fun to get hit in the head with. I actually been hit in the face with a lacrosse ball too. So I can attest those two.
Yeah,
not great.
It's the whipping action, of
Yeah.
the hockey stick and the lacrosse racket, and so
yeah.
The reality is I wouldn't want any of them. But,
Absolutely not.
that would be. Now I did get hit with a hockey puck, just not in the head. And
were you like
back when I was in college, they let me play goalie.
Okay.
We had all these Canadians on the Utah football team, and so they would rent ice at like 11:30 at night because it was the only time you could get on the ice. And they said, "Come play with us." And I go, "I've never skated before." And they said, "It's okay, just wear your hiking boots and you can play goalie." And so I go there, and the guy who had all the hockey or the goalie equipment says, "Oh man, I forgot like the thigh protector pads, but you never get hit there anyways. You'll be fine." First shot nailed me right in the thigh. I was like, it was a lot of fun though. We had a good time. I actually liked it.
That sounds painful though.
Okay, Northwestern coach, former coach, Pat Fitzgerald.
You remember this story, right?
Yeah. So of course, yeah. He was Northwestern played Utah in the Holiday Bowl, and it was kind of interesting to see at the press conference between Pat Fitzgerald and Kyle Whittingham, and it was like, these look like a spitting image of one another. These chiseled rocks of granite.
Also,
these two coaches, boy, they looked amazing.
Former linebacker, right? Pat Fitzgerald,
right?
Just like Kyle
played
Whittingham.
the same position. Yeah, just the whole deal.
Mirror image of each other. Yeah.
And really, Pat Fitzgerald did a whole lot more with a lot less. Very similar to Kyle Whittingham. There's some limitations and challenges with being at these universities, and to turn them into successful programs, it speaks to the types of coaching. Of course, he was dismissed, and it was quite significant.
The hazing scandal.
Which is, hazing is, we could talk about hazing on the show for about a month in sports, but so he settled because he's looking for a coaching job. And so I started to think, well, where would he fit in? And the first thing I thought of was, how about Penn State? Yeah. Did you see Pat Fitzgerald at Penn State?
Linebacker, what better? Now,
right.
This is assuming, and I think probably enough time has passed that even big time programs like Penn State, there's not a big stigma on Pat Fitzgerald, especially if he's right about his quote is he feels 100% vindicated by this wrongful termination lawsuit finally settling, and according to his side of things, his lawyer's side of things, the evidence that the opposite side was presenting did not prove that he knew enough to be held accountable for the hazing that was going on at Northwestern when he was head coach, which was it was a terrible thing that was going on in Northwestern, and he was being held responsible for that because he's head coach. But anyway, he feels 100% vindicated. If that's true, that he really wasn't in a position to prevent as much of that as the university felt he was as the head coach, maybe that stigma is washed away from him. This is now,
I think it is
5 years removed, 5-6 years removed from his firing.
And I actually, no, I totally do. And on top of that, I think, hey, they both have had a stigma. And so I think it would be a great fit, a great match.
Penn State's a good call. What do you think? One of these SEC jobs, LSU, Florida, he's not being mentioned for any of those. Do you think he might fit there? I feel like maybe it's because he was a Big Ten coach. He played at Northwestern. We're only thinking, perfect fit at a place like Penn State. But that's kind of how I'm thinking. Like maybe he's not the greatest fit for SEC, even though he's a good coach.
I wonder if anyone would want to be in the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like these schools are so quick to fire guys, right? It's like you are on the shortest of short leashes. You're competing.
There's 4 of them that are open in that conference now, Scott,
right? But you're not
just
right.
Had to change too.
Exactly, and you're not competing against other SEC schools anymore. You're competing against the country. Like you could get talent, right? But now these players are going, yeah, I can go other places that aren't even the SEC. And so not only are you not, it's like, oh man, we have to compete against Alabama and Georgia. Now it's like we got to compete against the rest of the country, and we have a fan base and a a dynamic now that says, "Hey, we're owners in this deal.
Hey, how
like,
about
we're
the
putting in the money
governor
for
of
this.
LSU?
You, yeah, I mean,
like
exactly.
like probably all those SEC states, the deep South ones especially. They're like the governor has a vested interest in the football team.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm a coach at all that I want to do it. And some of maybe if you're someone like a Lane Kiffin and but and I don't know. I think Pat Fitzgerald. Yeah, no, Big Ten all the way.
Yeah,
he's kind of built for that.
Now UCLA is technically Big Ten now, so that's also a Big Ten opening. I feel like you nailed it.
That's not a bad idea.
I feel like you nailed it though with Penn State. He feels like he'd be a great fit culturally and as a proven head coach at a lesser program, doing more with less, having more more options, more ways to build a team at Penn State.
To me, it feels like, to me, it feels like he's a guy that belongs in college football. Like, I don't think he's a bad person. I really don't. I think he's a guy that belongs in college football. All right. Well, that's enough dumping for today. We did our daily dump, and let's take a break. We come back. We got a PGA Tour update. You don't want to miss it here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a fun show. I've really enjoyed this so far. And we got more to come. We're going to talk some hockey and some football and some basketball and some baseball. And we're going to throw in a little cricket. James is going to give us tips and pointers on how to be a professional. Croquet. It's croquet.
My dad.
Croquet.
Yeah, my dad was a professional croquet player.
Yeah.
Utah Wickets. Look it up.
Love it.
Totally real.
Hey, I love it. It's funny. All right, so we have a PGA Tour leader board update. The WWT Championship. The new G440 driver delivers faster ball speeds along with Ping's game-changing forgiveness. The G440 irons are also designed for more distance and control at UNA Golf. James, give us an update, please.
Nicholas Dunlap is your leader. He's tied for the lead, actually, with Sammy Valimaki at 11 under. Christopher Ventura and Vince Whaley, Chad Ramey, Andrew Putnam are in a group tied for third at 8 under, 3 shots off the lead. The next group there tied for 8th rounds out the top 10. That's Ben Griffin, Francisco Molinari, a couple of big names there in that group. It's 7 under. Again, tied for 8th. Scott, there's a couple of local guys playing in this tournament as well. Zach Blair, that's a name that a lot of golf fans know in and outside the state of Utah. He's tied for 84th, even through 6 holes, so long way to go on his opening round still. And former BYU star Patrick Fishburne, he's in the top 50, tied for 48th at 1 under. He's finished his opening round, so he finished the day. Good start for Patrick Fishburne at 1 under. So our local guys playing decently well to start this WWT championship as we inch towards the end of the PGA Tour season.
Yeah, you felt like it ended a long time ago, and we wish we hadn't have seen the Ryder Cup this year. But it's a fun time of year for people who really are golf fanatics. Of course, they had the event down in St. George at Black Desert, and they're very important events for the golfers for sure, because it helps guys to kind of solidify or increase their position on the tour for next season as well. And you're not competing against a lot of the big time guys, so it's a great opportunity to get a lot of reps, and get experience in official tournaments and move up in the standings to kind of help yourself moving forward.
It's like
and there's a lot of interest. I mean, the Black Desert event was hugely successful here, and it's kind of that way. It's not maybe a traditional venue, but it's a venue that will continue to grow. Players love to come to St. George and play, and so it's a success for both the fans and the golf world to get just a little bit more golf before, of course, it gets winter.
Have you been able to play Black Desert yet, Scott? I know you've
no.
got a home down there now.
I have not, but it's absolutely stunning. I'm limited in my golfing ability at this time due to physical conditions that are beyond my control.
Gotcha.
So, but it's definitely in the works.
It's in the works.
I'll tell you what's in the works is Tom Callahan, Locked On Mammoth podcast. That's going to come at us right around the corner. I don't think you want to miss it. Did you have something you had to say there, James? I might have cut you.
No, I was just going to ask you that if you'd had a chance to play Black Desert yet. I'm not a huge golfer myself, but being from St. George, I'd love to. Even though I'm not much of a golfer, I would absolutely play around there and hit it into the weeds a bunch of times. It looks spectacular.
Well, you hit it in the rocks, the lava rocks.
The rocks,
there.
That's true, but there's not much weeds. They're lava rocks out there.
No, they keep the weeds down. But I'm surprised you're not more of a golfer with your croquet background.
I know,
because there are some similarities.
I know, as a legacy,
and you have
player,
beat yourself in the head with a golf ball. I mean, geez, James, come on.
I mean, maybe that's why. Maybe I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be around these things. They really hurt me when I played wall ball with a golf ball.
Golf is a dangerous sport. All right, Tom Callahan, Locked On Mammoth podcast, right around the corner here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, Scott Mitchell here, filling in for Sean O'Connell today. Of course, this is ESPN 792.1 FM. We have had a great show. It's a lot of fun, and it's going to continue. It's going to get funner. Maybe it might be the funnest it's ever been this day, right around the corner. And don't worry if you've missed any part of the show. Just use technology. It's your friend. It's not your foe. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to help everything in your life. Go to the ESPN 700 app. Go to ESPN700sports.com. You can get the Sean O'Connell show. You can get all the shows on the ESPN network, and it's free. And if it's free, it's for me. We're also on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. So go check all of those things out if you missed the show. And it's a cool thing. So we love that. All right. Joining us on the show right now is none other than Tom Callahan, who, of course, is Locked on Mammoth podcast. Does a great job there. Does a great job with the Mammoth. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How's filling in going for you?
Oh, they throw in the lefty every once in a while. It's good because I love to talk about sports. And they give me an hour in the morning. I have my own little show. It's called The Down and Dirty, and so every once in a while they let me out of the basement and I get to see the light of day, and it's a fun thing. So I like it. I got a question for you.
Radio, I understand what you mean.
So Ovechkin, 900 goals. Just an incredible thing. He is the founding member of the 900 Goal Club, and he's the only member of that club. Just your thoughts on that, really quick. And is there a Mammoth player that you see that could potentially have that kind of longevity and production?
Wow. I'll answer the second question first. Probably not.
Okay. That was easy.
We have to step back and appreciate what Ovechkin is doing as so I think the phrase generational talent is overused. Honestly, I feel like every year in every sports draft, we have yet another generational talent these days. Alex Ovechkin is a special hockey player. He is the goal scorer now of all time. And he has never been afraid to shoot the puck. He has shot the puck consistently, and he has had crazy durability. For anyone to match Ovechkin, they're going to have to play 20-plus years. They're going to have to score at least 40 goals a year. It's a really tall order. And I suppose that there could be a Mammoth player or another NHLer who does it eventually. But there's a reason why. I mean, Gretzky retired in the 90s, and he was the previous record holder. And he was insane. Catching Wayne Gretzky was considered impossible. But you look at what Ovechkin's done. If you have a chance to watch a Capitals game, just to watch him play, I mean, he might be the best goal scorer we will ever see in our lifetime.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable. And for me, it's kind of, because like I'm a huge Wayne Gretzky, because he is the standard. He's kind of the guy, and so when someone comes in, there's a little part of you that goes, "Yeah, is that's almost disrespectful to Wayne Gretzky?" But he's just been phenomenal. Ovechkin has just been incredible. All right, the Mammoth. Kind of on a bit of a slide here. They started off the season super hot. Of course, they've lost 3 of their last 4. They played Toronto last night. What did you take away from this Toronto loss, and kind of where is this team right now? Do we need to panic, or what's your thoughts on what's going on with the Mammoth?
Well, I think this is a critical juncture early in the season for telling you exactly how far this team has come and whether they're going to be able to sustain the momentum. Anyone can start hot, and the Mammoth did, and that takes nothing away from their hot start. But what we saw last night against Toronto was that Toronto was simply better. And that, I'm not painting that to be mean or anything like that. I take nothing away from the Mammoth. They're just not as good as Toronto. That third period last night, the Maple Leafs absolutely shut them down, showed how to protect the lead, and kept Utah from really generating much of anything until they kind of got that super late goal with just about a minute to go. Losing 3 out of 4 is not the best spot to be in. They're in a tough stretch, 8 of 9 right now away from home. That is difficult. especially with the travel, especially with the back-to-backs. But that said, the Utah Mammoth sitting in third in the division right now, they've got some slow starts helping them out from other teams in the division like St. Louis and Minnesota. Actually, Chicago and Nashville have had pretty good starts, which is weird to see because that was not on anybody's radar. But it has enabled Utah to move ahead. So I think Utah's taken steps this year. I think they're a playoff contender, but I said playoffs are bust this year. So for them to be a playoff team, not just contend for that spot, they need to win one of these next two. Montreal is the best team in the East, so that's another stiff challenge. Ottawa shows up some nights they don't. So I'd like to see them get a split there, but then they really, for the rest of this month of November, I think are going to show all of us if they are indeed for real, because by the time you're about 20 games into the NHL season, I think you know what you have.
I have an interesting, or I'm interested in this whole idea of back-to-backs. You see it in the NBA a lot, and and of course baseball has its situation. You don't see it in football per se, but what is a realistic expectation of having back-to-back, and what's kind of a strategy? How do you go into these games knowing it's going to be a short turnaround, and is your strategy, I guess, different than it normally would be going into a game?
Sure. And I think I have a little more insight into this than a lot of people because for 5 years I traveled with the Nashville Predators, did play-by-play for them, so I saw firsthand exactly how they treated it. You want to keep your travel as short as possible, which going from Buffalo to Toronto it was a 21-minute flight. So not a big deal there. They were able to get into their hotel rooms at a reasonable hour and get a good amount of rest. For an NHL-conditioned athlete, playing games on consecutive nights is not that big a deal. Is it preferable? No, because your body is used to a game, no game, a game, no game. And so, yeah, it's a little different, but you want to make sure, number one, that your rest is taken care of and your nutrition is taken care of. It's why oftentimes you will see teams have either an optional morning skate or just a light skate the morning of the second game for guys who do prefer to skate and get going, but they want everybody to make sure that they are rested enough and ready enough to get going. So that is really that, and maintaining your routines, your post-game routines, especially, you're on the road most of these. So those are critical, making sure that you as a player have what you need to be successful. I don't think it's as big a deal, especially this one coming up here, Montreal and Ottawa. Okay, so you have back-to-back coming up on the weekend, but they have 3 days of rest in between. So I don't think and another very short flight. I don't think it's going to be in any way an excuse on a back-to-back or anything like that. It really is something that you are used to and expected to handle as a pro, especially this early in the season. Look, if you're playing 5 games and 7 nights in March, I think that is different and that is tiring. That's where you may see a coach opt to give a team a day off. But right now, it's early. We're barely into November. These guys should not have a problem with energy whatsoever.
Speaking of Montreal, that game is on Saturday. What can we expect out of this game? What challenges Montreal for the Mammoth?
Montreal is really good. As I said just a moment ago, they're currently the best team in the East, and they're second in the NHL to Colorado. They are Montreal's ahead of schedule as far as development. They're a young team. They're an up-and-coming team, but they're getting excellent goaltending. They are getting really good play up and down their forward lines. Their young stars are having breakout seasons. They're a deep team. They can roll every line at you. They're comfortable with throwing their deep pair out there, and they have, the benefit of being at home, and so they can match lines. I think that this is an excellent test for Utah, as Toronto was. And for maybe a period and a half, Utah kept up with Toronto, but then the Leafs just kind of pulled away. I think this is a chance for them to rebound because they have handled the pressure of good teams fairly well this year. They've already played Colorado twice, and they've looked good both times in those games. So I think this is going to be an exceptional matchup. I hope it's a very close game. Of the two, if you're going to say which one are they going to win, I think they win Ottawa. But if they get a point against Montreal, that in a way could feel like a win and really put them back on the right side of things. I'm not too worried about the 3 out of 4 unless it becomes 4 out of 5 and then 5 out of 6. Okay, now we got a problem. But right now, heading into this, I think if they split these next 2 games, come home and start to take care of business at Delta Center, we should be okay.
Clayton Keller, who's in his 9th NHL season, and Nick Schmaltz, who's in his 10th, are the top 2 scorers on the team this year. They've been involved in 12 goal combinations. And a lot of talk was about some of these young guys. What does it mean that some of the older players or more veteran players are playing well? Is that a good thing, bad thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I love that, number one, speaking of veteran guys having a heck of a start to the year, Nick Schmaltz. 18 points already for Schmaltz. He has absolutely lit it up to start the year. And he's in a contract year, so obviously he's playing for next year and beyond. But he's helped elevate Clayton Keller and bring that line up. And what it does is it allowed Andre Tourigny to put the young guns together on a line. We've started calling them the pickup line because they always seem to score. But to have Cooley and Gunther and Peterka together, those guys, especially Gunther and Peterka early, seem to exhibit some chemistry. And that's incredibly important. And, of course, Cooley was a little banged up, but now he's caught up. That gives them a top 6 that is capable of scoring. But the nice thing is when the pressure is on, yes, both of them to score, but if one line picks it up, the other line might have an off night. That's okay. And then the Mammoth are trying to get some depth scoring out and beyond that as well. That's important as well. They really do need to find scoring on lines 3 and 4 to be successful. But do I like the top 6? Yes, I think it's one of the best top 6 in the NHL right now. And I think that having those veteran players going, as you were talking about, does take the player off the young guy, pressure off the young guys when they maybe don't have their best game or two, and they hit a little stretch where they might feel a little cold.
It kind of piqued my curiosity about picking lines. Like, well, how does a coach do that? Is there a science behind it? Are there like, here's the criteria? Like, is it just a gut feeling? How do coaches actually kind of go about picking, setting those lines?
I think alchemy is the best word to describe line combination.
Okay.
You'd think it's a science, but it's kind of an art, and sometimes it's a guess. Because you could you would think, I want to take players that kind of play the same style and put them together. And sometimes that works really well. Other times, if you have a couple of players who play a very, playmaking kind of style and they both need the puck, you don't want to play those guys together because there is only one puck. So you would prefer to kind of have on each line, you would like a guy who is a shooter, a guy who is a playmaker or a passer, and then someone who's a good mix of both. And that, I think, generally is the composition that a lot of people would like to have. Now, sometimes, especially lower down the lineup, you're trading those skills out for things like physical player, throws a lot of hits, is very good defensively, but you're looking for a mix of those skills to put the lines together. And honestly, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle by sticking a couple of guys together, and you wouldn't think that they would match up, and then all of a sudden they do. For whatever reason, they complement each other. And I think that was part of the reason why Gunther and Peterka have been kept together, and then they stick Cooley in the middle there. There was talk about perhaps putting Cooley as the top line center with Keller and Schmaltz, but they said, you know what, we're going to – and I'm actually pleased to see that they did this because this is a line that could grow together over the next 5-6 seasons together. If these guys find success and find that chemistry, this line could be the top Utah line for the next several years. And it is. It's a little bit of a dash of this, a pinch of that, and sometimes it doesn't work, and you try to move guys around and figure it out.
Yeah, I just think that's so fascinating in hockey, just that whole the nuance of the game, and because it's so fluid, and even in a game, it's just fascinating to me. Okay, so you mentioned the 20 games into the season, and we're not quite there, but what's your sense to this point? Has this team met expectations, exceeded them? Where even though it's still a little early?
I think they're about on par for what the expectations would be for this team. They've still been a little streaky at times, which is reminiscent of the good and the bad from last year. Really, the buzzword, the keyword, the hashtag for me this year is consistency. Haven't quite seen that yet. Like I say, they go through streaky sets of play where they're really, really good. And if they could keep playing that way, then I would begin to label it consistency. But it disappears, and then you end up losing 3 out of 4, and things aren't quite going your way right now. And they still are making some of those mistakes that I felt limited them as far as the potential to earn points last year. So to me, if they can develop the consistency, I think not only are they a playoff team, they become a playoff, contender to win around, maybe even advance a little further than that. But if they don't find that consistency, I still feel the pressure's on them to get into that playoff spot this year. If they miss the playoffs, that is an abject failure on the season. So where are they right now? They're in the playoffs. They're third in the division. That's a great spot for them to be. And hopefully, as we do get past that 20-game mark and maybe around Christmas and into the new year, the consistency starts to rise. And if it does, they should stay in that third spot.
I saw this thing about the NHLPA, and they have a new deal with Sense Arena with this VR kind of these games. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard this? Because they talk about some players actually use VR training as part of their training, especially like goalies. Are you familiar with this at all?
They do, yes. And I actually have tried the VR goalie training.
Yeah, I'm just because they talked about how, as a fan, so now they're because the Players Association got involved with this, so now they can use the players, and fans can actually go in and like try to score on the goalie and do all these kind of cool things. And I don't know, it sounded kind of fun, and kind of felt like an immersive type of thing. I think just one of those things where you can even generate more interest, more understanding, more excitement about hockey.
You know where this is going to connect, and I think it's really cool, is with the kids. That's your future generation of fans. That is who you want to imprint the game on. And, when they think it's the coolest thing in the world just to watch, or they're at the glass, or even when they see Tusky somewhere at an event or at a game, that's who you're trying to connect with. And, yeah, you know what? This is cool for adults. Don't get me wrong. It's very cool.
Right.
But I think that it really gives them a sense of what it's like. This could be me, or at least while you're wearing that VR headset, this is me. I just think it's amazing to know that you could be out there on the ice with literally your heroes. So I think it's a natural step in the evolution, and I think it is great for growing the game because it fosters even more of those dreams, and now gives you an actual visual to go along with them, not just what you see when you go to sleep at night.
All right. One last thing. This is just your opinion. James and I were having a discussion about what would be more painful to get hit with: a baseball, a punch from like an MMA fighter, a hockey puck, a lacrosse ball, or he threw in golf ball. So which one would you not want to be hit with? Which one do you think would hurt the most, I guess?
So I have been hit by both a baseball and a hockey puck, so I have a relative pain reference for those. I broke a nose thanks to a baseball, and I've injured countless limbs because I was a goalie. I've been hit top of the kneecap and all sorts of accidentally unpadded areas with a puck. The punch from an MMA fighter would be tough. That one would be really, really hard. A golf ball is going to sting like heck. But I think you'll get over it. And kind of the same thing, like, yeah, you can break a bone off a puck. If I'm rating them, it would probably be MMA fighter, hockey puck, baseball, golf ball, 1 through 4.
Interesting. I love it. All right, there you go. You've passed the test. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Tom. Have a great day.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you.
There you have it. I don't know. Hockey puck's up there. It's up there. James, do we have any feedback from our poll? We haven't revisited our poll. So Utah is it better to go the at-large bid or go through the conference championship? Which do you think would be the easiest and best way for Utah to get into the college football playoffs? What do we have? Do we have anything? Anyone interested in our poll today?
It's pretty even, Scott.
It's
54 to 46.
Okay.
In favor of playing in the Big 12 championship game.
So more people want to go to the conference championship game than the other route.
Yeah, and maybe this is just the security of you play in the Big 12 championship game and you win, you're in. Maybe it's that security, like you play there, that's the only guaranteed way to get in, at least winning that game, versus the uncertainty of not wanting to face the uncertainty of, hey, like if you don't get there, the committee may not pick you over Notre Dame.
Right. You're still beholden to subjectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I gave a compelling argument. I really did. I'm kind of thinking the other way, but because if you lose the conference championship, you are absolutely out. You're not going to get in with 3 losses. So
in Utah's case, yeah, like already having 2 losses, if they had beaten BYU or Texas Tech, it's a whole other story. They get to Arlington with 1 loss. Maybe they get in if they lose that game. But in this case, where they are now with already 2 losses, yeah, you're risking a lot playing that extra game if you don't win, right?
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. I find that interesting. People said that. All right. Well, when we come back, we're actually going to have a discussion about not a 12-team playoff, but a 24-team playoff. And you're like, are you kidding me? It's like double the pleasure. And I've heard a lot of compelling information about it that I actually really like. And we're going to talk about it when we return here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today. They've been kind enough to let me take the reins and drive the bus. So off we go, like the movie Speed. And we're just not going to stop. We're just going to keep going around the airport over and over and over again. And then eventually they'll just cut the music and I'll be done. And that's how it rolls. I hope you're having a good time. This has been fun. Some fun conversations. I'm curious what you would feel like if you went away from your home. Say you went on a trip, vacation, you went to your grandmother's house for Thanksgiving, and you came home and your house was gone. Like gone, like burned down, burned to the ground, gone. And you come back and it's no longer in existence. That's what happened to Miami Heat coach Eric Spoelstra. They were on a trip, and of course he comes back home, and it's disappeared. I can't imagine what that would feel like to to have your abode just disappear. It's a and it happens. I mean, we've had wildfires, we've had tornadoes and hurricanes, and it's kind of one of those things that you don't like. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen. My mom, when she was growing up, she told me a story about they went to Yellowstone, and they were gone for a week, and they went every summer to Yellowstone. It was kind of their thing. And they came back, and their basement of their house was completely filled with water. And my mom was like elated. She's like, this is so cool. We have a swimming pool in our house now. And of course, my grandma and grandpa were not happy. And my mom's brother, my uncle, and my grandpa, they basically bailed out the basement all night long to get the water out of the basement. Now, her grandpa, who was my great grandpa, was at the house at the time. And they're like, where did you go? Why didn't you, what happened? And he says, well, the basement started flooding. And he says, I didn't want to be in the house with the basement flooding, so I left. It's like, and you didn't tell anyone? You didn't try to fix it? He's like, no, it was flooding. What am I going to do? Anyways, you ever had anything like that happen to you, James?
Yeah, fortunately, no. I have not been in that kind of situation, other than like lived in a basement apartment, my wife and I, and the lots of rain, huge rainstorm in it, and in the house we were living in, they were renting the apartment out of. Got some water in the living room because of the rain build up there, but nothing crazy. Like that was just a little bit of a cleanup situation. Then we're moving on.
When I played for the Cincinnati Bengals, I lived in an apartment. So you just live in some guys, own a house or rent a house or rented a bar. So I rented an apartment for the season. And it was really my last year in the NFL, my second year in Cincinnati. And someone, for whatever reason, stole a car, went joyriding, parked it in the parking lot of the building that I lived in. And there was a carport, that covered some of the parking, lit the car on fire and left. And it burned like 4 or 5 cars, and it burned one of the buildings. And I was close to being evacuated from my apartment once. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
You didn't even leave a note from Dirty Mike and the boys or anything?
No, man. Just decided to just blow up a car and burn down the houses pretty well.
That's nuts.
All right, I ran across this thing, and I really kind of like it. And it's this idea because the 12 team, like they're trying to modify, and figure out and dial in what is the absolute best playoff formula for football. And I think the problem everyone is struggling with is it's all so subjective, and it has been forever. Like the national champion in sports is just based on who thinks is the best team, which is so absurdly insane to me. And I can't believe that we've allowed this and accepted this as the way it is for generations. It's just so insane to me.
Scott, it's to the point where when when you or anyone else tries to bring some reason into this and be like, hey, how about we just let it be decided on the field? Some people look at you crazy, like, what are you talking about? Look at how many 5 stars Georgia has. You think that SMU has a chance if they played? Like, maybe they don't, but we'll find out on the field.
It's insane. And so they've had all these iterations of, well, we'll pick 2 teams and we'll, and they can battle it out. And and then it's 4 teams and now it's 12. And and you're a team like Utah, and it's like, well, we can almost get in with 4. I mean, we have to basically go undefeated in the Pac-12. And if we do that, which you're never going to do, then you might have a shot of getting in. But other than that, forget it. And then they go to 12 teams, and now 12 teams just gets watered down with more teams from the Big Ten and the SEC getting in. And you're in a conference where you go, yeah, I don't know that you're any closer today than you were when you were in the Pac-12. But finally, a 24-team playoff proposal, which I think, and I thought it was insane in the beginning, because that's too many. But it's not really too many, because the college football is not like the pros where there are 32 teams. There's a lot of teams in college football, and there's some pretty decent group of 5 teams, that are scrappy. There's always that Boise State team that's going to beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl or the Orange Bowl, whenever they did it, or Utah beating Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. There's just always that team there, and that's why we want to see that. And we absolutely want to see it. But I love this 24 team because of what it really solves all of the problems. And they can still have their little subjective group together, but they're not going to, for the bulk of it, have any kind of say-so in the final outcome. And I think this is brilliant. And so it basically goes, there's automatic qualifiers. So the Power 4 teams all get 4 teams in the playoffs. And so this goes to the Alabama should always be in the playoff argument. Well, there you go. You're in.
So that's 16 of them right there from the Power 4.
So there's 16 right there. Okay. Then you have 6 at-large bids or group of 6. So there's 2 automatic qualifiers from the group of 5, and then there's the remaining at-large bids. So I think it's a total of 16 and
you said 2 from the group of 5, so that makes 18. So there's 6 at large.
Yep.
Right.
And so it's an absolutely beautiful thing. So everyone gets an opportunity, everyone gets in, and you have the selection committee that still has its say so, but it's not so like what's going to happen this year. What 2 lost teams should be in and should be out. Like they're, since it's just a debate, and you don't want to get into that. So you're looking at, if you were in the Big 12 right now, the top 4 teams at this point are BYU, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, and Utah. And I think you could say those are the 4 best teams in the conference. I mean, they really are. I'm not so sure about Cincinnati. I'll just tell you right now. I don't know that they've really played anyone, but whatever.
Just to be fair, because I agree with you, those are the top 4 teams, but there are 3 others that are tied for 4th. That's Houston, ASU, and TCU.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The 4 you mentioned, BYU, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Utah, they have seemed to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, even though there's a few others that are technically tied with.
And if you get down to the 4th teams and you get into tiebreakers, if you're the 4th team, I think that's okay. It's like, and who knows, maybe you might get more teams in with even with the 6 at-large bids. But regardless, I think you could go through every conference in the country and say there really only are 3 or 4 teams that matter. Like, I don't know that you could go to the ACC and go, okay, give us your 4 best. I know you could probably do it in the Big Ten. You could probably do it in the SEC, very closely. But when you get to number 4, you're really stretching it in every conference.
Yeah, with the ACC, just for instance, tied for 4th are teams like SMU and Duke, who on the season have 3 losses. And it's like, yeah, those teams probably don't belong with right now Virginia, Georgia Tech, Pitt, surprisingly in that top 4, sneakily in that top 4, Louisville, Miami actually outside of the top 4 right now in the ACC, surprisingly. But anyway, just to underscore your point there.
So this year in the Big 12, the sad part about things is the top teams, BYU, Texas Tech, and Utah, they're the top teams. They have played each other now, and you want your teams to play each other to some degree, but it wouldn't hurt them in this playoff scenario. And so being, conference play matters, and how you end up in the conference, which you want to have that matter to your team. I think one of the big knocks on it is player safety, longevity of the season, and it's really not extending the season dramatically, because here's what happens: you're going to have the bad teams are playing the early games, right? And then you're going to have the good teams who get buys. And I believe it's like, I think the first 4 or 8 get by. It doesn't matter. But and the top seeded teams also get 2 home games in this scenario. So it's more than likely that the good teams are going to wait. They're not going to necessarily have more games. The bad teams are going to get beat early on, and then the good teams are going to continue through the playoffs. So I don't know that you're going to have that many more games per se, because if you're a bad team and you just keep winning and winning, then maybe that might be the case. The challenge of recruiting and the calendar and all those things that goes into play, but really, I mean, most of this stuff has been determined already. Like, recruiting's going on now. These coaches know how to recruit during the season. I when I travel with the team, like, we'll go to a place that's a hot recruiting place, and you'll be in the hotel lobby, and these coaches are running out and they're recruiting on a road trip, when they're getting ready to play a game the next day. So recruiting's not going to change that much. And you take a team like Texas Tech, who had identified who they wanted in the portal before the portal ever opened. I don't know how that happened, but wink, wink. But most of these teams have a pretty good idea of what they're going after in the transfer portal. And if they're not up to speed on this early, then they're stupid, and they should lose. So the idea of, well, the schedule is going to throw us off, it's just false. It's that's not an accurate thing. And then I think the other thing that people worry about are bowl games. It's because it really could be disruptive to early bowl games. But can we be honest? Who is watching, or like, maybe some of the, like, everyone's already determined that bowl games are kind of a thing of the past, how they were. Players opting out for these bowl games, not really a lot of viewers watching bowl games. And I know it's a tradition of college football and all that stuff, but I think the real tradition of bowl games can continue. There's still a lot of teams that will go to bowl games that maybe wouldn't have gone, or I don't know that it's really going to be that disruptive.
Well, and how about some of these bowl games where you only see like 5 people in the stands, like the Bahamas Bowl, for example? It's like, okay, that's awesome that we're having a college football game in the Bahamas in the winter, and that's awesome for the teams, but no one's watching. So like are we, and maybe 5 people are watching on TV, Scott. Like, it's just, what are we protecting when we're talking about we got to protect these early bowl games? I think that there's a few outside the New Year's Six that you could incorporate into an expanded playoff, especially a 2014 playoff. But there's not that many outside of the New Year's Six that you're like, yeah, we have to keep those bowl games. I'm not sure why there's so much consternation about that.
You will generate massive amounts of revenue with more games. You'll have bigger fan engagement at home, which is more revenue. This will just be a win for everyone. And it takes the subjectivity out, not completely out of it, but out of it enough to where, you're really winning it on the field. And everyone can sleep now because Alabama pretty much is going to get into the playoffs every single year.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. We come back. We have topical trivia. We'll wrap this baby up, and of course, you have a chance to win 4 tickets to Now You See Me, Now You Don't. When the Sean O'Connell Show returns here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. I was thinking about your dad telling you a tale. And of course, my dad telling me a tale. And then it's like, and I'm thinking about my own kids, and it's like, yeah, hey kids, you know, a long time ago before you were born, I actually played professional football. And they're like, yeah, sure you did. Sure you did. And then I took my youngest son back to a Detroit Lions alumni weekend, which are really fun, by the way. And they do them every year. It's a fun thing. And he was blown away because he watched. They had these dinners and they would show highlight films, and he'd look at me on the highlight film and then look at me sitting there eating dinner at this banquet, and he goes, you were like as good as Matthew Stafford. Like, you were a good player. He goes, I didn't even know you played.
Scott, not to get way too far afield here, but and also not to make you feel any kind of negative things, but it was interesting. I'm scrolling through Twitter one day, and you know, people will put those questions for engagement, like, "Hey, who was your favorite team's best player?" And people will put like pictures of like here the Stockton and Malone, right? Or this one was the opposite. It was like your favorite team's worst quarterback, and I was shocked at the amount of Ravens who had Kyle Bowler, by the way, and Lions fans who were putting pictures of you up there, Scott. And I'm like, hey, like I know that Barry Sanders had the shine that kind of took that shine away from you, but like besides Stafford and Goff now, like they haven't had many other quarterbacks besides you, if any, that they could be very excited about. I was shocked to see the amount of Lions fans in particular. They're like, yeah, Scott Mitchell years were terrible.
They were horrible. Well, he made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They didn't really do much of that before or after you until recent years, right? So anyway, sorry, not to bring up bad memories, but
no, you threw a really wet blanket on that one, James.
But like you tell, like when
I was having a lot of fun on this show. I'm never coming back again. But
when you go back for alumni weekend and people like your son who didn't really see you play see those highlights, they're like, oh, you were really good. I would guess that that would be the case for most people that didn't see that era and we're like, like you were actually really good. It's surprising that in hindsight there's a number of people that think negatively of that. But anyway.
Yeah, it's fascinating the perception people have of things.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, if you look at it like if you really study and look at things, but there's this perception of it, and it's that way, and it's weird. Yeah, I know.
We were talking about.
I have many sleepless nights about all of this, James. Which probably tonight's going to be another one.
Added to it. My bad.
I'm just joking, by the way. It's like it's so stupid. It's just beyond. Like, look, I played in the NFL, and that is a lot. And I did it for 12 years.
Started for a long time.
You do not stink if you do that. I'll just tell you right now.
We were talking about the latest season of Quarterback on Netflix, and Kirk Cousins is back on. They're obviously chronicling last season, his first season with the Falcons. I feel like Kirk Cousins is kind of the modern version of that. So many people, like, he's had so much success, but he's not Patrick Mahomes.
No.
And so people are like, he was like, I feel like 20 years from now, there's going to be a crazy number of people who be like, oh, Vikings worst quarterback in franchise history. Here's a picture of Kirk Cousins. It's like, no, he was actually really good.
And what it is he got paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's what people have a hard time with.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, we got some topical trivia. Big Willie's gift card, 4-pack of tickets to Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The advanced screening. Okay, here's our question. So text in the answer, 877-353-0700. And if you know this answer. So James, we were having a discussion about lies our fathers tell us. And James' father told him about a fictional professional croquet team that his dad played on.
Fictional, so Scott? I don't know about that.
Well, maybe not. The made-up story from James's dad. What is the name of the team, the professional team, the fake name of that James' dad came up with? If you can answer that question, you got the tickets. 877-353-0700.
You also get 1,000 James Peterson bonus points. So,
yes, which is
a lot on the line
very special.
Yeah.
Yes. Been a great day. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sean O'Connell Show here. Of course, Spence Checketts. The drive with Spence Checketts is right now, right around the corner. You don't want to miss it. This is ESPN 792.1 FM. Until then, we'll see you then.